So, our spiritual calling is calling from something really, really deep within us, and it's trying to find its way through the complexity of our ego, which is incredibly complex. And I would say, really, we could define it here as being the conflicted self, right? The surface part of the ocean, the waves, the conflicted, very incredibly compelling aspect of our humanness is that conflicted part of the ego, right? It's the part that is wanting what it will make it happy, getting rid of what it doesn't like. It's comparing, it's judging, it's self-incriminating, it's incriminating everybody else out there. You don't know it, but when you walk into a room, and we've talked about this before, the first thing you do is you're sizing up where you are in the room. That's just, it's survival. It's so unconscious, we don't even know it. But that part of ourselves is incredibly compelling and pulls us. And the spiritual calling is very quiet, it's very insistent, and it's deep down in our belly. Here's this stuff, and then here's this like deep calling that's down here. And the spiritual impulse does not get hijacked by the egoic conflicted mind, but it can get overridden by it because it's a quiet voice, a quiet, consistent voice. That conflict and the drama has this unbelievable gravitational pull, right? It creates angst, and it's very dense. There's a feeling of like thickness and trueness, and it's hard to get sticky. We can't disengage from it. But in our spiritual practice, our attention is the most prized commodity. Where do we choose to put our attention? So it's the conscious use of our awareness. What are we doing? Where is our attention abiding? The question that I keep asking is, are you available? That's exactly what I'm asking. Where's your awareness? Where's your attention in the moment? If our attention is caught in the conflicted self, we're not very available, right? Does this make sense? Okay, so this is why we practice. Often what we do is we practice, then we get off the cushion and go right to the gravitational pull of the conflicted self again. And we don't even recognize it. We don't even notice it because it's so constant in us. Whatever your form of that gravitational pull. So that sense of when we get caught in the internal conflict of the ego, the wheel of samsara, right? It never ends. It will never end. We cannot make the ego do something different. It's just what it does. But we keep thinking that if we keep mind-fucking that thing, it's going to stop. It doesn't work that way. We have to stop, right? And that's when we come down and we just relax our brain and let that come down to the point. Because this we cannot solve because there'll be one more other thing that has to get resolved. It will constantly be something yet to resolve. And when we get that, now we're cooking with Crisco. That's when we're starting to really get it, that is what the mind does. There is not a problem with that unless you think that if you get cooked in it, you're going to resolve it. Often we come to this sort of authentic spiritual journey when we've really done a lot of work on ourselves. And that's why the growing up and the waking up is so important. But then we find one day that we're just continually working on ourselves, right? And nothing is changing. I'm not in any way saying don't work on ourselves, but I think our really deep relationship with our spiritual life starts when we see the cyclic nature of it, not trying to solve our issues from our own personal work. We have to do our own personal work, but that's not what's going to then resolve the humanness of our mind. We have to learn how to work with that. We have to understand ourselves. Why do we have that specific form of conflicted self? Right? our childhood, our genetics, our karma, our brain chemistry, whatever. But if all of our attention is focused on that domain, we will always be trying to improve ourselves. And it will be an endless project. What Brett was saying in his question, this is such an important part of that question, is there's a deep acceptance of ourselves and our humanness. It doesn't mean that we can be a shitty person and it's okay, we're accepting being a shitty person. This is where the grow up and the wake up comes in, is that we're choosing to be steady, level, kind, awake people. And we're accepting our humanness in that picture. How do we become steady, kind, awake people in the face of a conflicted self? It's not that we're going to get rid of the conflicted self and find the perfect life, and then we can be steady and kind, because that won't happen. And that's why I keep saying this is an advanced practice. Does it mean we have passion? I'm going to look at you, Miss Passionate One. How do we have passion and follow our soul's journey? I'm not saying we're like milquetoast. That's just not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that in our passion and whatnot, we're not smearing people. So how do we have the totality of who we are, our expression of who we are? And our expression will come in a million different ways. How we move, how we do art, how we do our work, how we relate to the checker in the checkout line. You know, it's all these ways that we express it. How do we make love? How do we relate with our pets? How do we just move in the world? Does that make sense? I want to make sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I feel like this weekend has been in that domain of working with my passion and where I can get obsessive. My things around passion and obsession.
Right. That's really good right there.
Yeah.
That how to have your passion and not get caught in the conflicted self. The passion comes from the deep spiritual calling rather than as a response to the conflicted self. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can you say that?
Yes. That our passion comes from the deep spiritual calling rather than the passion coming from the conflicted self. Because the conflicted self, that passion has an instability, right? But the soul's journey of that passion itself, that has a very different quality.
Okay, I wanted to say, actually, something that I've been aware of and has really, I guess, become more obvious to me this weekend is that when I'm in my passionate self up here, it's chaos, whatever. When I'm in my passionate self here, I transform energy.
Mm-hmm.
I am like
Exactly.
a fire that can take in.
Yes.
And it really gives me chills because it's really kind of a fun, like, oh, this is the wisdom side of Poppy.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, I am like, it's kind of fun and interesting,
Yes.
for lack of a
Yeah.
better word.
You just hit on something that I wish we had now a whole nother weekend, because I would love to teach on the 5 Buddha energies. Because what she's speaking of is exactly right. She's Padma, she's just so much Padma energy is so beautiful that in the wisdom side of the 5 energies, whatever you are, will have the expression that you're talking about when we're caught in the downside of it. And only you will know that fine line.
Right.
But you have to get honed to that.
Yeah, and I want to say I've been appreciating, remember that movie, A Beautiful Mind?
Oh, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
It's such a great metaphor for life and practice. And I think part of, for me, it's like learning to live, but not get hooked in the fact that I obsess on certain things, like my flavor of obsession. It's just like learning to live with these hallucinations in your mind without getting,
Yes. And that's
without getting freaked out.
right. And that's what I'm trying to say. When we learn the cyclic nature of reality, of the conflicted mind, then we're not bothered by it. Then we can go, that's what the conflicted mind is doing, right? I'll come back to that. When we actually are dropping down into the spiritual calling, we start to see the roots of the conflicted mind. just that old saying, you can keep mowing the lawn, but it's going to keep growing. But until you actually pull the roots out, that weed is going to keep growing. This is paradoxical in that it's not to solve the conflicted mind. It's to understand how the conflicted mind works. Then we don't get as hooked by it. The conflicted mind may continue forever. My experience is that the conflicted mind, if we feed it, will spin and spin and spin. As soon as you don't care if it's activated, and it's up here doing its thing, the waves on the surface, lo and behold, it just gives up. But as soon as we're feeding it more information, it's going to keep it, right? Always. So there's this sense of, once we understand the mind, we're not trying to curb the mind, it curbs itself. And this is a really big distinction that we have to start to learn. If we put the awareness on the conflicted mind, we're feeding it. Put the awareness down in the depths of the ocean where it's calm, and the surface will calm.
Tori, you said something yesterday about, I can't remember how you phrased it, but the reforming of the eye? Is that how you said it?
Yes.
Making sense to me in practice too, that when I feel space and quiet, then what is my, like,
Right.
my ego do? It wants to become.
Each time in the conflicted mind is the recreation over and over of the sense of I.
Yeah.
When you stop doing that, then that just stops. It's not like we have to take it apart. If I'm thinking about creating the sense of I right now, it's just active. As soon as I drop down here, there's no sense of separation. It just is done. We are just constantly creating it because that is what is true. The truth is there is no separation. It's the mind that's creating it over and over and over again. Yeah. This is the place where we transcend the personal story. We start to see that this is just innate to the human experience. And it's not us, like I'm fucked up. We're not. It's that we start to see this is the human experience. Take a deep breath. This is like, welcome to reality. How do we then come to terms with that? We have an impulse, and I just use the word God because it's the simplest thing. We have a deep, innate impulse to connect with that is bigger than us. What we tend to do is try to get that feeling met through others, through other people, which is a beautiful thing, but often we don't get that need met. We get some other need met. And there's a way that we then get into some mischief there in trying to have somebody else fulfill. And we get so pissed that they don't. We get so pissed that they're not fulfilling that deep, deep impulse need that needs to have that connection. The gravitational pull is towards the noise, right? All the noise. Fucked up them. They're so fucked up. Why are they so fucked up? They're not making me happy. So it is an art to find the capacity to listen to the quiet places when that is so compelling. So we have to soften our attention around the noise and let ourselves not be repelled by it or drawn to it, but just stop. And this is such an easy thing to say, and I know how hard it is, but it is that we have to train ourselves. Where is our attention? Where is our awareness? Really keep paying attention. My awareness is on that spin right now. When we stop, our attention is more freed up for the more subtle energy. Sometimes we have to turn towards the noise as some sort of resolution. This is where sometimes the only thing we can do with our ferocity or our anger is like when I was working with people, we would come into the barn, into the studio, and we would put on loud music, and they would just dance and scream and yell and throw pillows and stuff like that. And that's what they needed, but they weren't doing it to the world, right? They were moving that energy that had to be moved. Sometimes we get stuck and we have to do that. But we have to be very sensitive about that, because most of the time we end up taking it out on the others, the world, in some kind of mischievous, icky kind of way. My experience is that we often just tread water to make sure we don't go below the surface, because there's some fear that if we're in our thrashing about, we're not going to forget something or let someone be mean to us or whatever. So we just stay on the surface and we don't just drop down. And this is where it takes a great deal of trust to be able to actually stop in the face of that.
I'm just picturing that times 7 billion people.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to war.
So,
Yeah.
it's just,
Oh, yeah. Look at all the war that has been caused because of religious differences.
it's you, it's all, it's
Yeah.
you,
Exactly.
generation.
Yeah. We generally have an incredibly anxious relationship with ourselves. I really believe that so much of it is an existential relationship with just being human, but we have a very anxious relationship with ourselves because I don't think we trust ourselves. We don't trust that if we stop, we'll be okay. We have such a desire to fix it. And that self-improvement process will go on and on. And so I ask myself almost every day, do I actually think that there will be some place that I will arrive that will be better, more right, more satisfying, more whole, more complete? Because if I'm looking towards that and I'm rushing to try to find it, one rush leads to another rush, and there will always be something to rush for, to try to resolve. And we think that rushing about is somehow going to get us to a place, some place where we can have a more copacetic relationship with ourselves. So,
So we've already talked about the fact that there are no problems, but we do have some problems. One of the things that I think that I certainly struggle with is the problems are big and huge, and there's people around like, you got to do this, you got to do that. And one of the ways that I've tried to deal with that is just drop it and then just try to sit. But I'm not.
that's a great
Like,
question.
am I doing the right thing? Is there like a call to action? And sometimes I actually feel it, and I think it's like trying to walk in the world from your belly, but
Yeah.
it's really hard to
Yeah.
feel that and not feel the other, because the other is crushing.
She's
Frankly, it's just crushing. It's like you can't do anything.
Yeah. So, there is so much suffering in the world. And what I see, my experience of watching most people, is they think that helping the world is by bemoaning the suffering, which is not doing anything. Not a damn thing. My sense is it's not helping those suffering or the earth suffering for us to feel sad. You have to listen to what is your calling in which to help. It's so awful. It is so painful. But find what is your own calling, which is your own soul's journey. And it may take a year for you to understand what that calling is, of deep listening. But that's where, let your knife be incredibly sharp. Don't come in there and just whack at things with a butter knife. You'll make a mess. Be very clear on what your action is, and I hope that we all have an action. Our action may be to love the block we live on, to help the people on the block we live on, to be as kind in our relationship as we possibly can. This is a hard one because we all will have a different way of serving, and it will look different for everybody.
And then the general suffering, I think still finding a way to feel that,
Yes.
but not feel like you have to act. I
Yeah.
mean, that's my thing. So I think you're answering
Yes.
it, to feel that, but then that's where this comes
Yeah.
in. It's like, oh, there's this thing and I feel it.
Yeah.
I have to do
Yeah.
something, but I can't do anything. So I
Yeah.
don't want to feel it anymore.
Right. And that's the thing, is that I think we're all walking around with a whole lot of repressed, unfelt grief about what's happening in the world. But remember, all grief is going to come and it's going to go. It's going to come and it's going to go. So feel the grief fully, and when it goes, look at the blue sky and celebrate. And then grieve it again, and when it arises, you will have, as I read in that one thing, ample opportunity to grieve. And I think part of what's going on is that all that repressed grief is coming out in all these subversive kind of ways that is really unhealthy, of hatred towards each other and whatnot. We have to find ways of grieving so we don't go underground, so we don't just go into that doled out, depressed place, which I think is what's happening to a lot of society right now. For me, there was a huge relief when I was given my diagnosis, because it was a relief that some of that feeling of that, I have to help the planet, went away. And it allowed me to actually go, what is my soul's offering that I can give every day right now that actually causes change? I don't have to keep thinking of all the 10,000 things that I should be doing. I stopped flying as much. I really made the decision, I am not going to fly like I was before. I'm going to really try to see where can I stop my impact on the world. But that's going to be everybody's individual thing. So I think you're asking a really important question, though, in that there's so much confusion about how do we relate to how the world is right now, on all levels. But I think your thingy is to feel like you're not doing enough, right? So you have to look at that first, because that's going to come out of a panicky place rather than from that soul place. And again, that's going to take patience. Yeah.
There's another layer. Thank you for that question, Greg. There's another layer to that for me. It's just frustration and failure in the face of attempts or
Yeah.
whatever, trying to tap into that space and do things, but then feelings of, I don't want to call it futility, but just frustration and failure.
Right.
And yeah.
You will fail. You will fail and fail and fail from that perspective of changing the world. I would look more at what is the calling of how I can serve. And if you fail, it doesn't matter. It's still coming from that place of the calling to serve. Does that make sense? If we're up here where the serving has to create change, we're going to be disappointed. But if we come from that, this is the natural gift that I was put on this planet to give, then I am unattached to the outcome of that. This is bigger than us right now. We all need to be doing something if we can find our call. But I think we also have to be willing to let go of how the outcome looks, because we'll just get angry. We have to just keep sourcing, giving our gift in whatever way we can. That makes sense? I think your thingy, I don't know you that well, but I'm going to guess part of your thing is that same thing of feeling like your standard is so high for what you want to give. And that's going to get tricky. You're so generous. Be careful of the flip side of that, where your generosity comes from a place of just of love, not the generosity of a place where you could end up being so disappointed. Does that make sense to you? Does that land at all?
It is, and it's also just not thinking to stand the injustice.
Totally. This is so heartbreaking to say, but more and more I get this, that humans have been unjust since the beginning of humanity. And we don't fool ourselves that we're like, whoa, we lived in tribes. Bullshit. We raided. Just look through time. We are, in some ways, a very unjust species where we're also paradoxically, amazingly, very altruistic. Thank you. Which is amazing that we have that. So you will forever be disappointed at our humanness. And I would say, don't be surprised by it. And it is astonishing. Believe me, don't get me wrong. Every day I'm like, I cannot believe that we have gone this far. But if you think about it, and the historians that really look through time, they say, this is nothing, folks. This is nothing, what we've lived through in the past. That we have this much democracy right now. I could go on, which I won't do. But I'm just going to say, it's one of those things that what I've learned is to not be surprised by reality. Because then I get caught in the conflicted self, rather than keep going down into sourcing so that I can actually be of benefit. Am I of benefit to be surprised over and over again? Not for me, no. Yeah. Okay. When we actually tend to the spiritual impulse, what it reveals is the interconnectedness of the whole, not just the residing disappointment and things that are failing on the surface. But we get to start to see this deep sense of interconnectedness, the deep revelation when we experience that of our heart and the deep caring that comes forth from that expression. That's a natural outcome when we rest in the deep spiritual calling, is that not the anxious, fearful, angry, but love as its expression. Love that is not isolating or comparing, it's just love. And there's a way that is in participation with the world. There's a way we want to include the world in that love, because we recognize that there is nothing that is separate from anything else. Each of you will have your own natural expression of that love. So just for a moment, just sense the warmth of your own heart. It might be very confused right now, but just feel the warmth of your own heart. Right in this moment, ask the question, am I available? Just right in this moment. How do we be with ourselves in that restlessness? It is not easy. But the easiest thing we can do is to stop and find a pathway into that stopping, like a pathway from your breath or a feeling sensing your low belly. It is in your sincerity, in your humility and your vulnerability that opens the door the most to that soul's calling. We have to be very, very sincere, very honest. Anything anybody wants to say?
Or to put something that you were speaking to earlier, that one of the most helpful things that you talked about, or that you said in the retreat in November, it was in reference, I think, to something Jessica had asked. And it was not having, I think, the courage or being willing to do this, to stop the to-do list. I think that's what you were referencing,
Yeah.
which I'm just realizing today, it's one of these very simple epiphanies where that's all the time related to the to-do list and every single to-do list.
Right, right, right.
Constantly.
Yes.
And
Yeah, go. What were you going to say?
well, I realize the risk for myself is it's like there's this little gap that happens right now with a bridge, or it feels like a little abyss between that moment and whatever it is.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Attention to,
Yeah.
like, that's the risky part.
Exactly. Because it's going to feel so dangerous. Yeah.
And I realized even in the meadow yesterday, I was studying on something about my cats and my daughter. And I almost had to like go through and calm myself down. a
Yeah,
little
perfect.
more.
Good. Use that. Yes.
You know, like they're okay, other people
Yeah.
handle it.
Yeah. That's the knowing and the not knowing. We have a deep knowing in us. And that's the part that says, okay, I have to take this by the hand right now and calm it. And that's the soothing voice that says, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Oh my God, the first month-long retreat I did, I was quite young, and I just literally, the whole month, I sat there, and all I did was, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And that was a brilliant thing to do, is to just be able to say to myself, especially when we make that leap, and we might make that leap 1,000 times a day, from the obsessive part to the part that can drop in. There's an abyss that is what we're trying to avoid. Right there is that place that just goes, man, I would rather spin on that list. That is comfortable because I know that. Right? I know that. But that's where we have to pull up our big girl pants and say, I can do this. And the more we do it and don't die, we get traction. But we have to do it and do it and do it. My relationship with the list, I love lists. Fucking love lists. My little karma nature, oh man, just loves lists. And it's not a problem anymore because I don't see it as a problem.
That you love lists.
Yeah. And that I will have a million trillion lists all the time. It's not a problem. Do you see the difference though? I'm just saying, I know that that's what this being does, and there's a wisdom aspect to it, and there's a neurotic aspect. When it goes into the neurotic aspect, where I don't want to face some deep calling or grief or whatever, then I know. But I'm okay with that. My nature is to have a lot of lists and just fucking love it. What I'm saying is, be careful that we don't say everything we do is neurotic. It's not. It's part of our humanness. And it's okay. But that abyss, take the leap. Take the leap, take the leap. And you'll find that the more you do it, the more comfortable it will become. And you'll go, oh my God, thank God. Right? Thank God. And what I do, if I'm like, wow, I am not listening to the spiritual calm, I go and sit outside, even for 1 minute, and just go sit down with nothing around me and just sit there. That's why eating meditation also is so good, because there's so much sense perception that we can focus on that it actually is incredibly soothing to the system if we allow it. Slow the eating down, take a break in between, put your fork down, let the time be slow so you put your fork down and just let the nervous system settle. I'm curious if that's true for you.
With eating?
Yeah, because I know
It's really
food could be,
helpful if I slow it down.
yeah,
I would say walking meditation is even better for me.
Yeah.
Because of the movement.
yeah,
But
can you see
really
that?
slow.
Yeah, that's great.
But I just wanted, the one thing I wanted to say
Yeah.
about what you just talked, I'm saying this partly because I think it might not just be me, but I'm translating the, if you're not coming from your Tao, because I'm like, okay, how do I translate that in a way that I can feel?
Yeah.
And then it's like you are alternating the deep spiritual calm, right, with the listening from here.
But it doesn't have to be. It's, where do you feel the deep spiritual call?
So for me, I think it's more like really feeling connected to the earth, like sitting on the earth and
Yeah.
feeling the full
Yeah.
connection,
Yeah.
which then does become connection to something bigger,
Yeah.
wider,
Yeah.
more than a small story.
Yeah. What are you going to do if you're in a wheelchair? We have to be able to find our way through this if we can't get on the ground. Yeah. So that's just all I'm saying is don't restrict yourself. We want to find the ways that in any situation, we're fighting with our partner. How do we find that calling? Right then.
Right.
And it may be that you're feeling it through your feet or your
It is
dress.
dropping down to as low in my body as I can feel.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
sometimes it's my feet.
Yeah. Also, it's literally relax the muscle of the brain.
That's a hard.
So just everybody, just relax the muscle of your brain. And now, relaxing the muscle of your brain, open your eyes and take in the whole scene at one time. And notice what happens to the sense of I. Relax your brain. Let the awareness come more towards the back of your eye, the back of your head. What happens?
Felt that singularity.
Yeah.
It's amazing. When did they teach that in kindergarten? Wow, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
You feel a sense of aliveness. It makes me think, because this was happening on the meadow yesterday, that, there's times and like small things where you're like, whoa, I feel so connected. It's because of that. right?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you were saying the other day where you're sitting there, you've never seen that before.
Right. Exactly.
And it's just-
Exactly.
It's amazing how many times we're not.
Right. Because we're so visually stimulated. And when we open our eyes, we're like lasers looking at them. And usually we go, how can I fix it? How can I fix that thing? Or how can I get it? Or how can I push it away? Whatever that thing is. That flower. I love that flower. I need that flower. Right? Suddenly we're all fucked up about the flower. Okay, so we're going to do a walking period right now. I'd like to do like a half an hour because we often think that the sitting is like when we practice and then walking is we take a break, because the walking is just as important. I'm going to do a 15-minute bell. In that 15 minutes, the first part of it, I want you to do a contained walk. So we're doing a more walk back and forth somewhere. Find a spot so you really get to stay close in. Feel your body move through space. Feel your feet touch the earth. Feel the looseness of your hips. I want you to move from your belly, but whatever is moving you, but stop in this contained space. Stop at the end and just rest there for a minute. Regroup. And then move again. Move as slowly as you need to so that you can maintain a sense of that listening. When the bell rings, that means aimless wander for 15 minutes. Still moving from that deep place inside of you. And my experience is if I just drop down here, everything shifts. Let's bow out. Enjoy your walk.